people like that or similar to that that literally, I mean, they sit down and they just waste away. I mean, they become lethargic. They become disinterested in anything except extending their hand for somebody to put something in it. Okay, who else? Jane?
I thought it's interesting in his book that he says regarding human behavior, there's a workaholic and a lazy person. The answer lies in neither. Because a handful of contentment and peace is better than two fists full of clawing and climbing to the top. It's easier to run the camel at both ends until they're in something.
Yes, and that, go ahead on.
I think that the person of verse 5 is the person being envied. Because I think he's talking about mainly the problem of a good guy being envied, and he's being tempted to cash the whole thing. If that's the way I get, I might as well just be like the slothful person. But then Solomon says, no, it's better if you just, are satisfied with a little rather than much.
Okay, well let's move on to that then. We'll get to that because that's that balance there. You're talking about verse 6 there where they find that balance, and Jane was also referencing that where we see that.
But there's no indication the envying person ever changes himself, but keeps on envying.
And that's true. Well, that's why it says he consumes his own flesh. Because he does not seek to better himself or change his situation.
Well, he doesn't have to be the slothful person. He can be any person who doesn't have as much as the other, or he thinks the other has, and he envies him.
That is true. That's why I say there are two views in a lot of that. It can depend on your translation, as to which view you take there of this, whether it's a lazy man, whether it's just, again, a game of one-upmanship. Then this balance found here, one handful of rest is better than two fists. They're full of labor and striving after wind. And we see here yet another caution, another wind advisory. Solomon is fond of this illustration. He uses it over and over. I know there's bound to be folks in here thinking, why do you keep going back to that? I go back to it because Solomon goes back to it over and over and over there, so that's why I do it too. One handful of rest. Yeah. We understand here, we have to make the distinction between resting and being idle. There is a huge difference. One of the best examples in the Scriptures would be who as an example of somebody that rested? God. Yeah. And on the seventh day, God rested there from his work. God's never been idle. God's never been idle. He wasn't idle on that seventh day. There, he just rested. Consider also then Mark. Yeah, I believe it's chapter 5. Then, no, I believe it's chapter 7. That's the chapter that includes the feeding of the 5,000. The disciples, the 12, had been out. They're preaching, teaching. They came back to Jesus, and his instructions to them, this begins in verse 30.
Is that Mark 6?
It may be Mark 6. Yeah, well, I said 5 and I said 7. So, yeah, it's